you'd like.
So we'll call to order the Parks and Rec Committee meeting for Monday, November 16th, 2020. We'll start with attendance. We have Mike Axon.
Here.
Myself, Sarah Francois, Jed Henry.
Here.
Sarah Borkart. Melissa Hintz.
Here.
And Jennifer Bonte.
Here.
Looks like we have some other people dialed in.
Hold on. Yes. So we do have Stan Nunn on here tonight for, I believe, Stan, you're here for the information, or to give information in regards to what's on the agenda. Do you have any, you can ask for public comment if you'd like.
Okay. Please note that due to the current spacing requirements concerning COVID-19, oh, okay, sorry, I'm gonna skip that. This is an opportunity for anyone to address the committee and on any issues, either those that are on or not on the current agenda, observing the time limit of 3 minutes, while the committee encourages input from residents that may not discuss or act on any of the issues that is not duly noted on the agenda. Any public comments?
I do have one. I received an email here today from Doug Brunner. It is in regards to the topic on the agenda tonight. If you want me to read it at that time or read it now, it's up to you on what you prefer.
I think read it now as part of public comment.
Okay, sounds good. Village of Cross Plains Parks and Recreation Committee. I apologize for not being able to attend tonight's meeting. I'm strongly in favor of the naming the large diamond at Bear Park, Gorst Field. Fran Gorst was a lifelong baseball player, coach, mentor, and administrator. He contributed thousands of hours of volunteer time to give young boys in Cross Plains the opportunity to learn the lessons of baseball and teamwork. His wife Pat also supported his teams and was dedicated to the baseball and Cross Plains community. Francis started the Babe Ruth program in 1963 in the village of Cross Plains. I was born in 1970 and lived across the street from the Ball Diamond. Fran was a fixture coaching from the time I can remember until just a few years ago. I was fortunate enough to play Babe Ruth, Senior Babe Ruth, and home talent baseball in Cross Plains for Fran. We called his brand of baseball Franny Ball, and it was all inclusive. If you were a part of the team, you had a role to help the team win. Only 9 could play at a time, but we needed bench strength and depth at pitching to compete for championships. Fran knew this and coached the whole team concept where each player knew their role. He is a main reason I coach and volunteer my time with our youth. This naming tribute is appropriate, and I look forward to helping recognize the Gorst contribution to the Cross Plains community in the near future. Respectfully, Doug Brunner, 6004 Laufenberg Boulevard in Cross Plains. I have the doorbell ringing right now, so I'm going to go check that really quickly, and I'll be right back, okay? Sorry, that was Jim Nunn. He's gonna jump on via Zoom here too, so just need to send him the link quick.
Okay.
That is the only public comment I have, unless if anyone would like to raise their hand.
Oh, I lost my agenda. Where did it go? I sorry, I gotta reopen the link. If that's all we have for public comment, we'll move to updates. Oh, there, sorry. I don't have anything to report other than just gratitude to Mike and the village staff for getting the playground set up. Despite all the setbacks, I drive by it. When I do leave the house, I drive by it every day, and it has been getting used, and people appear to be honoring social distancing, and looks like a lot of kids from different ages have been using the new playground. And just also want to thank Mike and the staff who run the club for the camp for kids. It seems I see those kids out too, and it looks like that's continues to be a success. So thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Mike, Jennifer Bonte here. Speaking about the new park, which I agree is awesome. Why didn't the zip line? I forget. I don't even know what that's really called. That's not installed, or that's not operational right now. Is that right?
That's correct.
Is it in the spring? Because I think, yeah.
Hopefully still this year. I mean this winter still. So that got up. Everything, I'll give it my report tonight too, but everything went pretty well with it. There's a couple of the poles that actually are leaning out a little bit further than they're supposed to. So the crew that actually their construction crew will be back to certify it, and then also kind of shim those things in place. So they'll make sure that we have it operating correctly before we even install it. We have put the belt on, and it does work fine just by rolling it down. We didn't actually do it ourselves, but it can't be open to the community until they certify it. And they were here for those 2 days, and then they were gone to South Dakota doing a job, another one. So they were supposed to be back within 2 weeks. So I would say that should be next week. Now we'll see if that stays the timeline or not. But yeah, it will be open. It's just making sure that it's done right before we allow anyone on it. It needs to be done to do so. So
sure. All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other updates from committee members?
I have questions about just stuff from the past. Do we have updates on the pavilion, the sign that we discussed last meeting, and any updates on the park here in the Viridian neighborhood?
So what was your first one, Jed?
Xander Park Pavilion. Last time we talked about it was trying to get some use for the money. I think we approved like the 12.5.
Yeah, that'll be in my report here moving forward too. Okay. I apologize you didn't get my report, as I actually didn't get it completed until this weekend. So it was quite a busy week the last 2 weeks being out of the office. So I will forward this on to you though, all after the meeting. I just figured I'd read it for you tonight a little bit and then send it on. The second part was the sign. Tim Hillenbrand and I have been in discussion quite a bit about it. However, we have not received anything back from the same company that we received it the first time. So we have tried to reach out to other companies to see if they would be willing to, give us these options. But we have not heard back from any of them currently. So it is still on our list of things to do.
Okay.
For that. What was the next one?
Park in our neighborhood.
I did have that on the agenda.
Village board, right?
Yeah, so that is approved. It'll be into next year's budget. So I did have that on our agenda tonight to try and pick a date and time to, have a meeting of your neighborhood and or community to discuss that. With the increase in COVID, I thought we could probably discuss that a little bit tonight and not pick the dates, just because, having that social gathering or meeting time wouldn't work. Now we could try and do something over Zoom or virtually, but I'd have to try and figure out what that could be and how we could try and all get together to say, this is, because before it was nice to have them look through all of the books and different parts and kind of what was important to them. So I'd want to make sure that we had enough information for them for that and then, kind of get a process moving forward with it. So, but I did have it on and then I took it off due to
Okay.
the increase in COVID. So
I would say a Zoom meeting would be really nice because more people could attend, just because, you know, you think about the nature of the people who are interested. They have young children and attending meetings at any time. And also, I mean, I know there are quite a few families in the neighborhood who are not going to feel comfortable anytime soon coming
Sure.
to meet with, you know, face to face.
if you could, I mean, it's not an agenda item to discuss tonight, but even if you were to send me emails about, you know, the process and what you'd all like to see, you know, kind of moving forward, and maybe even what month you'd like to see that happen. You know, if we start it in January or February, could be good timing to make sure that we get things rolling, you know, come early spring on what we'd like to see. So yeah, that'd be good. Otherwise I can come up with a process as well. But
We've got a neighborhood group that we can send a message out and see what people's feelings are.
okay, sounds good. But it is in the 2021 capital budget, so.
Okay.
And then I just wanted to kind of ask, like, if there are any things being kind of planned for the winter to just, I don't know, encourage joy. And one thing I was thinking about was even just something so simple as like kind of planning for like the first snowfall, doing some kind of like snowman contest where it's like encourage people to just like build a snowman in their yard and post a picture of it, and the winner gets like hot chocolate at the coffee shop or something. I was looking at like Mount Horeb and their Parks and Rec, and they're kind of trying to do these just very safe activities to
Like at home,
kind of
virtual. So
help people through the winter.
so we have tried a number of these things already, and we haven't received a whole lot of recipients or people in them, and maybe it's because they're not getting the information. So we need to figure out the best way for them to get it, or even I could look up and talk with Jill in Mount Horeb and see what they're doing and how you're getting that stuff. But in my report, which you'll see, we do have a survey that goes out. It's in the newsletter for tomorrow when it goes out to people, to ask them, you know, what are some things you would like to see where you would feel safe? Would you be willing to be a part of some of these virtual programming, maybe one-day events or even events that continue or would you like to see some in-person type programming that allows social distancing and obviously the COVID restrictions in place that we're looking for? Now, obviously, with the change in where we're at this week compared to even 2 weeks ago, I'm not so sure that's a good option. But even moving forward with that, come spring, you know, which isn't that far away, what do you, if some of the issues that we're seeing currently are subsided a little bit, you know, can we start offering some of those other skill and drill type programs that are more one-on-one or one-on-two? Is that a possibility? So we do have that survey out. The other thing we do have coming out tomorrow is our letters to Santa. We are putting up a big box in front of the club that people can put a self-addressed envelope with postage in, and we'll have letters that will go out to Santa, and Santa will actually write them back. So we do have that set up already. It's just getting it out now in the newsletter tomorrow, and then also that's when we're putting it on Facebook and our website. So there is, you know, a few things, but if you have some great, I mean, like what you said about the snowman, I think that's a great idea. And it's something that's not necessarily, you know, time-stamped, because we don't know when the first snow will be, but it'll be something for kids to look forward to when they do get that first snow. So I love the idea. If you'd want to send me an email or send the girls an email too, we'd be happy to hear that. And that's kind of what we're looking for from the community in regards to that survey. You know, what are some things that you would like to see? Maybe that we're not doing currently, that we're not thinking of, and I think, like you said, sounds like a great first task due to, you know, with our first snowfall. So I've almost got my whole report done here.
I want to go back, and I forgot to mention, because we hadn't met since July.
I know, August.
Or August, when we met at the park. So I just wanted to also bring up some changes from the village board with the budget and parks. And I apologize, I just don't have the exact names of the accounts in front, or the budget accounts in front of me. Mike, maybe you can jump in. But the village board did decide to move the parks budget for expenses into the rest of the village fund. So there's no longer a separate parks fund for fund balance.
Correct.
It's now part of the entire village fund balance. So.
Yeah, so previously, that's actually how we built that playground. So previously, any money that we had left over, whether it be from increased revenue or expenses that we didn't use, went into our own Parks and Recreation fund balance. Now, that was an unrestricted fund balance, meaning that it could be used for any department anyways, but it was just set out separately so that we could see, you know, what was currently in there. That's now been moved into the general fund for the village to use for each and every department. So it doesn't really change a whole lot, I don't feel like, in our mindset or how we're working within the department. But it does change, you know, future, I think, capital projects or things that we'd like to see within the future, as some of that money and or all that money could be earmarked for other departments. So that part of it's, you know, kind of frustrating in itself, but understandable as well, as, you know, other departments do need other funding for some of the things, some of the projects and or equipment needed for everyday use. So village board decision, and I don't, like I said, I don't know how it really changes much, if at all, anything, but other than segregating that money. So is that it, Sarah?
That's it.
Are we doing ice skating this year?
We are. Yeah, we'll have the ice skating. We got everything out today to get up there. So normally about November 15th, which we're away, that's when we get everything set up. We have the tarp ordered that we need for it, and we'll have that up at the library, or I'm sorry, up at the pool parking lot again this year.
Have they looked at a separate note on the sledding hill over in our neighborhood? Has there been any kind of maintenance? Or I know when I was on it last year, it felt like there was like sticks and long things that were sticking up out of it. Is there a chance to mow that or go over it before we get snow?
So we did mow it
Okay.
roughly actually probably more than that now. Time's kind of flying on me, but I'd say a month ago or so it was mowed again. So we did mow everything down that we could. Some of the areas that we can't mow either have large rocks or the topography of it just doesn't allow any of our mowers to kind of go up through there. So we did take the weed whipper around there and did portions of it, but there's still areas that obviously aren't mowed completely down throughout. As far as, you know, getting rocks out of there or even the sticks and things, not really a high priority. And
it is what it is. Okay.
Yeah, with the rocks that are in there, that would be really tough to get out from that property. So
okay.
And Mike, remind me again, speaking of the snow hill,
Mhm.
all of that is village property because of that one no trespassing sign that's on the tree. Do you know what I'm talking about behind?
Yeah, so all of that's not village property. A large portion of it is. There are stakes up on the, let me see here. So closest to Bear Park, as you go up, there's actually a fence line that's up there, an old fence line. So that kind of shows you where the property line is there. And then moving down, we've had Lath up in the past. Now that's not necessarily stating that's where the property lines are now, because people can pull that out and put it wherever. But for the most part, the area that we have mowed along that hillside is all on village property. And there's actually a buffer kind of around the entirety of that that is still village property. So, and we also do have a map up it's going in the newsletter as well tomorrow, that kind of shows our winter events and things that are coming out. So it has a sledding hill on there, has the ice skating rink, and then also has our grooming. So the cross country ski grooming that would start as soon as, you know, we could with getting snow. So
Thanks.
Is it in your report, Mike? I'm sorry, about the speaking of snow activities. We had talked about, that'll probably be in your report, with the snowmobile club and the.
I don't have that in my report with the snowmobile club. I don't have anything in there. What I have been told from the village, actually a village administrator and attorney, is that the snowmobile or their conduct or access is all within our village ordinances. So there's not a whole lot for our parks department to discuss. Now there could be things for our committee and or the village board to discuss and the changes of that ordinance and what you'd like it to look like. But it's currently in the ordinance about access trails and trails, which doesn't really give us a whole lot of flexibility, I'd say, in regards to what the Snowmobile Club would use or want to use. Now they have to come to technically the village board to ask for that access, but they don't have to come, and they only have to come to ask for new access, not necessarily access that's already been approved. Does that make sense? So, do you want my report now?
Yeah.
Unless you have
Can
more questions.
Can I just say two more things?
Yeah.
On that path in our neighborhood, did you see that like big metal ring it's like in the ground or something? It's like this exposed like chain metal ring kind of thing that just seemed like kind of a hazard to mowers.
Where is that?
It's, let's see, it's on like the far west end, kind of near the sledding hill. I think it's like when you're going around the most outside path, if you were to take a left to kind of cut over, I don't know. I could go, I'll take a picture and I can email it to you.
Yeah, that sounds good. Or if you go on DCI site, you can usually put an X on something and send it that way too.
Oh, sure.
At least give me somewhat of the direction of it, but I will check into that. I know there was obviously a lot of things buried in that property in some different areas. Hopefully that's not something that was, but I'll check in. I can check into it too over there.
And then the only other thing I wanted to say was my daughter actually took part in the archery and the tennis in the fall, and we were super impressed with how well run and how safe it was and the enforcement of masks. And it was just, we were really impressed. So thank you.
Yeah, glad to hear that. Thank you. So from my report, I just have, obviously the Glacial Valley Park Playground. It started October 13th is the first day that we started to, lay everything out, dig holes and start the construction project. And little did we know, a month later, literally 30 days later, we would be opening the facility. So I think it's right in line with what our goals were. Especially we were given good weather, which was a big help within that. I guess I should rephrase that. If you would have told me when we started on the 13th that would be ready on November 13th, I would have said, most definitely, we're going to be there. Just knowing what the first couple of days were. We had their 3 installers come is something that had changed within the process. So originally we were supposed to do a community build, and the community build was, obviously all of our neighbors and volunteers to come forward with one of their installers. So their main installer and then our staff. And obviously with COVID that needed to be changed. So they had contacted me to say, what if I were to give you 3 installers for 2 days and you have your crew watch over and yourself watch over what's being done, and you take it from there. And I said, well, yeah, that sounds great. I think having your 3 installers for 2 days should be great. They came for those 2 days and they flew through the project. Within 2 days we had it standing up. So we were literally had all the towers up, and we also had the gravity rail up. We had poured the cement for the gravity rail and then a couple of the towers. So we were pretty ecstatic about when they left, about where they were. After that, it was definitely a learning curve for all of us. Reading through this 500-page manual and trying to find pages and then trying to find hardware. And then noticing that even the things that they had done with different size bolts than what it called for and different size washers. And so it was us, do we need to go back and change those out? So it was on the phone quite often with them as well. But we did have great weather. So we were still, thinking, okay, this may take us another week or may take us another 2 weeks. And then there were a number of things that had to fall in line with it. So we had to get a lift for the roof section. Obviously those were about 18 feet in the air. We didn't have a ladder or anything to reach up there to tighten up the rest of the roof. We had some trees that we needed to trim up. And then we needed to have warm enough and dry enough weather to bring in all the concrete for the next step of it. So making sure that the concrete was in the holes where we needed them and filled up to where we needed it. So So all in all, it was a learning experience for us. If I were to do it over again, I would probably say no to having them for the 2 days and then having the one person. So going forward, as we move forward, over to your neighborhood, I think that's something I'll definitely keep in mind. And mainly just because I think it would have saved us a good week, if not more than that, with our staff and one of their main guys at just reading through everything and making sure we're doing it correctly. We were on the phone a number of times. We actually had the project all done, cemented in place, started to put the Pegasus up, and noticed that we had 2 brackets that needed to be in place for the bridge, the webbing bridge that goes in. Well, all the other brackets were brackets that you put together here and then you screw in bolts. These brackets were firm. There was no cutting, there was no changing of that. They were supposed to have those on when they did the towers. We had to take everything off of both the towers, keep them in line because they were already cemented, so keep everything up in line with it, and then slide the brackets over, and then tighten everything back up, and then go down to the next one and tighten it. So it took us a full half a day. It took us a half day to finish that, to get it in place so that we were able to put that bridge in place. So I think those are things, and when I called the installers, I said, well, this isn't our problem. Obviously, this is what you guys should have done. And he said, well, we're in Bismarck, so I highly doubt we're going to be there to be able to fix that for you. So he kind of walked us through it, and we found out how to do it. But there was just a number of obstacles and kind of things that got in our way. So the project, I'd say right now, is about 90% complete. We have some blacktopping to do for the entrance areas that'll come in the spring. We have a couple of benches that will go in under concrete. We'll have concrete over top of them as our normal practice. And then we have a new trash can like we do in Xander Park. That'll also be a part of that project. So come spring, we'll have some duties to check off, but overall, the majority of the work is actually completed to date. But I just have something I'd like to read. I do have it in the newsletter, but it was mainly for our staff. So I'm just going to say, over the past 10 months, it's become more and more apparent that parks, trails, and facilities play a vital role in the health and wellness of our residents. As we continue to observe families and neighbors enjoying the much needed benefits of outdoor recreation, our attention turns in earnest to those who take care of and/or construct our public spaces with vibrant color. As the Glacial Valley Park Playground opens to our community, I'd like to express my gratitude to the village staff that helped make this playground project a reality. Your pride, diverse skill set, and ability to go above and beyond are just a few attributes that make this job and community an honor to work for. These employees include Dave Ziegler, our park maintenance worker, Travis Peralta, public facilities, Matt Cooey, public facilities, Logan Hormig, public facilities, Randy Brisk, public facilities, Joe Pertzborn, public facilities, and Jerry Gray, public facilities director. Although this project had its obstacles, their can-do attitude was contagious and really embodied our community's values. And for that, I'm forever grateful for their service and dedication to this project and continuing to make the village of Cross Plains a great place to work, play, and live. So I would not have been able to do this project without all of them. Every single one of them played a role in this project in one way, shape, or form, some more than others. And I just wanted to make sure that they were recognized for their work and contribution day in and day out. So thank them for that. If you do see them out in the community or would even like their emails, just to send them a gratitude, a thank you note, whatever it may be, that would be greatly appreciated. I tried to do my best to make them feel, special in regards to what I was able to contribute, but overall, it's amazing just the amount of stuff that they're able to do and their skill sets. Just each of them have different skill sets that made the project a success. So, all right, that's all I have there. Moving on, the pool winterization. So throughout this whole project, we also had the pool closing on October 19th with MAC. They paid up and did everything that they needed to for us. They did leave the pool blankets, which they were going to take back and then didn't. Kind of went back and forth on it a few times. So we were able to get those kind of dried off and put away finally last week. But overall, the winterizing went well. We were able to get everything in place that we needed to inside the vessel and we were able to clean up the bathhouse and get it ready for winter. So, and then the other project that we were doing during this time was power washing of the facility. We're still trying to work with the Stingrays to do the painting here in the spring, kind of see where COVID's at and how we can, maneuver around that or allow that to happen. If not, we do have it cleaned and paint is now off of the building for the most part in areas that we could. So we'll have to paint it come spring. Staff will have to take care of that if we're unable to go the other route. So,
is that on just the exterior or interior and exterior?
So it's just exterior at the moment. There are some areas that will be touching up, like in the women's bathroom. But we did repaint the inside of that building about 5 years ago. It cost us about $6,000 if I remember right. And we had Copleen Painting Services out of Monroe, who specializes in pool buildings and pools for the most part. So, but if you'd like to be a part of that process or in discussion, let us know. We are planning to I hate picking colors on things for the most part. So I think we're going to throw out some ideas to the community and kind of do a poll to see which colors they choose or what color they would choose for the building. I'll probably bring it to all of you first for 3 colors to approve and then kind of go from there moving forward. So that's our next thing. HM Zander Community Nature Park open air structure. So on October 26th, the village board gave approval for staff to work with Snyder and Associates, providing that they revise their original proposal to outline the feasibility, which in turn will allow the village to determine if tasks 3 through 8 would be needed. So if Snyder and Associates can't provide a plan that has no impact on the floodplain itself, and the village decides not to move it to a different location within that, the village would no longer move forward with that project and or be charged for any charges moving forward. So I was working with Andy from Snyder and Associates on that last week a little bit, and he got us a new proposal on Friday. Bill was off on Friday and on Monday and today, so as soon as he's back in the office tomorrow, I'll have him sign it, providing it meets his standards on it. I believe it meets everything that we'd asked for and the village board had asked for, but just make sure he looks it over before we sign it. And then hopefully come here in December, we'll bring Andy and the Snyder group in to work with all of us kind of moving forward on that project, kind of a first task meeting, feasibility discussion on what we'd like to see within that. So we'd have the Lions involved in that as well. So hopefully this continues. If it doesn't continue, which was discussion at the village board meeting, we have to have some discussions about what, or the Lions will have to have discussions on what they use that money for, that people have already donated towards. So
can I get a point of clarification on that?
Sure.
I know the last time we discussed whether the Lions were going to contribute any money towards that. Is the village going to foot the bill?
The village is going to foot that bill. And I believe it looks like the first part, at least the feasibility part, before we get to any other schematic drawings and things, is roughly $6,000 or so. So it's which is half of what, the full phase 1 was that you had already approved. So, but yes, the village board did agree with that discussion point, at least, that the village would pay for that. So good question though. All right. I talked about I talked about the letters to Santa and the survey.
What about Tim Hillenbrand?
Yeah,
yeah.
So Tim and I have still been in contact. I saw him quite a bit when we were working on the playground project, and I stopped to talk to him a couple of times around his facility or around the park. He had said, he hasn't heard back from, I think it was Bush Signs is who he had. And the guy had, when he had sent that stuff to Tim originally, he had said, please you can't use this for further, if you don't choose this one, you can't use this to try and get other ones from other companies. So Tim's tried to start off on his own again to try and find a provider or sign company. And I've actually looked at a couple that we've used around here in the past and just haven't really received a good drawing or any information that they are able to meet that need for us. So we'll see from there. But I'll keep it on our agenda, keep it on my mind. It's not still on my board, so it'll be a task to be determined, I guess.
Okay, thanks.
So the survey will be out, the newsletter will go out to all of the residents. You get that via email now. So just kind of talk with your neighbors and make sure that it's not a long survey. I think there's only 5 questions on there total. So hopefully we get some good feedback. Write things in, as obviously Sarah, you came up with some good things tonight. I'd like to hear more about those and try and get them out as soon as possible. So
do you anticipate having that back and show us the results of the survey in December?
Hopefully we actually have some programs planned already off of that survey. So we can bring it back to you for viewing if you'd like. It was mainly going to be for staff purposes, just to see, what people would be willing to do. I feel like if there's some health and wellness or health and safety issues within that, I would ask the committee to be a part of, but we'll definitely bring it to you for your viewing.
Yeah, I just for viewing, not necessarily for action, but if you could, I'd like to, because I'd like to get a sense of how many people are responding to the surveys.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely give you analysis or overall, and we can send it, make it part of the packet as well for people to look at. But let's see. Sorry. Sorry, Jim is still trying to get into here. He's like, yes, so there you go.
Is that all for your...
All right. Yep. So that pretty much sums up my report.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from August 17th?
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, we have a motion to approve the minutes from the August 17th meeting.
I'll second.
First and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Next, discussion and possible action regarding a proposal to rename the large diamond at Bear Park.
All right, so back in March of last year, we approved the policy, which is part of your documents tonight. We can go through those if you'd like. As we have been given our first possible naming for the Bear Park Large Diamond tonight via the CP baseball program, which would be Jim Nunn, Stan Nunn, and then also Doug Brunner. I believe Jim and Stan are both on here tonight. So I can let them, if you'd like to speak on this, or if you'd like to unmute yourself, feel free to do so. They did send us a letter, put kind of on their own letterhead for all of you to read through. And then I read you Doug's information that he had before this.
That was the letter in the packet, right?
Yeah, the letter that was part of that packet. I did give you, more or less my overview and my recommendation kind of moving forward. But I'd like to hear obviously from all of you you'll have to make that decision to approve it and then have the 30 days for public comment and then have the final approval between the Parks and Recreation Committee and then move it on to the village board for approval. So Jim, are you on? Are you able to hear us?
I can hear you, yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, we can. So I guess the floor is yours, sir.
Oh, great. Well, I think what we're talking about is trying to change the name, maybe the Big Diamond at Bear Park to Gorst Field. And the reason for it, basically, his wife died back in November of last year, and then Francis died in, I want to say July of this year or something like that, June or July. Anyway, Francis started our Babe Ruth program in Cross Plains in 1963. And since that time has been involved in the Babe Ruth program as well as the Home Talent program. he, you know, he's just kind of the guy that got it all going in Cross Plains. And today, I run the program. I've run it now for, I don't know, 15 years or so. But I took over for Francis, and part of the reason I took over was so that Francis could build the program even bigger. Originally, we were 15 kids was all there was for a team back in '63. And today we have like between 100 and 120 kids in the program, and they range from age 9 to age 18. Francis was around baseball for all these years. He ended up being a state commissioner for the Babe Ruth program, and just did a lot of baseball stuff. And then in, I want to say, the 90s, he went from just being involved in the Babe Ruth program to also taking over the home talent program, which was at the time kind of struggling to keep a team in town. And he kind of rebuilt it. And since that time, they've won a couple championships or whatever. But, you know, so he's always been in the baseball field for almost his entire life. And he just did a bunch of stuff to really help our program in Cross Plains as well as in the state of Wisconsin. I mean, I could talk about a lot of things because I've known Francis for many, many years, and, you know, but his dedication to the young kids and to making the program work has been very, very good. And over his lifetime, and obviously that goes into part of the time that I've been involved, we've got 9 state championships under our belt in Cross Plains alone. And I don't know if you remember the year 2010, but in 2010, we took a team of 18 kids, 17 of them, which were from Cross Plains only, to the World Series. We actually had to win the state, and after you win the state, you had to win the Ohio Valley Regional, which they did, and then they ended up in the World Series down in Ohio. And we actually got on a bus at St. Francis. They bussed us down to Chicago. We jumped on a plane. There was 21 of us or so. And the Babe Ruth program pays for everything in this case when you go to the World Series. And so they went to the World Series down in, well, it was me and 2 other coaches along with it. But anyway, we got down there and we won our first game. We beat the Ohio team. And then we lost the second game to Portland, won our third game against Texas, and then lost our 4th game, which was in the bracket, out of the bracket and into the final series. And so then we were done. So we won 2 out of 4 games in the World Series out of Little Cross Plains. So it was, you know, and it's all because of what Francis originally set up that got us there, I guess.
And this is only for boys, or women and girls are allowed in these baseball leagues?
Well, we have had gals that have played in the past. I would say, you know, they are minority in most cases. You know, we've had maybe 5-10 girls that I can think of over the years that have played baseball in the Babe Ruth program, but typically it's boys.
It seems to me that this is exactly why we wanted to have the capability of naming parks. And this is one ball diamond in a well-used that is used by this team, right? Or by these teams, the baseball teams. And Fran did an awful lot for baseball in Cross Plains, and it has quite a tradition. So to me, it seems like it would be an absolute thumbs up in looking at naming this the bigger ball diamond. I don't see any reason not to move ahead with it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I do have some comments and concerns about what was proposed with plaques and signage. Mike, do we have an ordinance or policy around plaque? Because now we're looking at 3, this baseball diamond, new signage for Helen Brands Park, and then potential Lions Legacy. I want some uniformity in the signage and plaques. And so I'd like to see what our policy is around that, rather than having different styles and different fonts and different types of signs throughout town. I think it would be more polished to have things look of the same type.
Well, I thought that's why we didn't approve Helen Brands at the last meeting, was because he came up with a design, but that we hadn't decided if that's what we wanted to go with, and we wanted to see some other ones, right? So we're not really making a decision on the sign because that still has, those proposals still haven't come back, right?
Right. So this form, the policy aspect of it, how we have it laid out is that you would approve the idea of this tonight to move forward, or at least to open up the public comment for it, of which you would address those public comments either to me or to Sarah, however you decide that you'd like to do it. And then after those 30 days passed, you would then approve or not approve the naming of the facility, to move on to the village board for naming of the facility. We do have inside the policy aspect for plaques, markers, and memorials that the committee or its designee must approve any of the plaques and or markers. So once this is all approved, providing the village board were to accept this this renaming, then the plaques or whatever they'd like to use for the memorial aspect of this would come back to the committee or designee for approval. So hopefully we'd be able to give them some parameters to work within. So if you have some of those, Sarah, if you have some ideas within that, that'd be good.
Well, I think that, Mike, I think what's missing is that we don't have a uniformity. So I don't want to single-handedly, or even as a committee, give direction to a group seeking signage in January of 2021 that's not going to match what happens in July of 2021 and so forth. So like, I think we need either as a village or as a committee, we need some sort of uniformity there.
I'm not so sure you'll get uniformity other than maybe the text aspect of naming a field. Normally with the naming of a field, it's either a brass plaque that wouldn't be like our signage that we have, for people coming into the park, or even just a blank sign that's on the field with the name on it, Gorst Field. I'm not sure exactly what they're looking at in regards to the actual plaque or memorial itself, but I don't know how. I mean, there could be some uniformity, like I said, with the color schemes, or even with the actual text on there. But outside of that, I'm not so sure we'd have uniformity issues, I should say. If that makes sense.
So yeah, it's probably a bronze plaque with maybe his face and a little bit of information about him, and then on the actual chain link fence of the field, they usually put what I would consider looks kind of like a street sign that has the name of the field, is what it is. It's not the Helen Brand sign that we discussed at the last meeting, so it's not really a uniformity. This is a smaller designation within Bear Park. Bear Park would have the full sign like Helen Brands would, but we're not changing that. We're just designating the field.
Correct.
Right. And I guess my suggestion is that we have a uniformity in those types of signs throughout the village, not just.
Well, but we don't have any other baseball fields.
No, but we have a potential for a Lions Legacy structure. You have other signage in the village. You have the pool. Like, I think that I just would like to see it either match the signage that's throughout the village or use the Parks and Rec emblem or something so that this doesn't look all patchwork throughout our village, that things look.
Sure. I can understand that. I think what we would need then is different parameters to put in place for this. So size of sign. I'm not so sure, you know, on the plaque and different things, if we'd want to even come up with what size that could be or should be, or give some recommendations maybe for it. But I think if that's the case, then we should probably do that as a committee. You know, the committee in itself come up with what you'd like that to be moving forward, and then make that part of the policy for signage within these programs. So actually lay that out on what that would look like. You know, nothing larger than X amount, or even maybe even give them, you know, what it should be, if that's the case.
Well, I think that we should either at this level or at the village board level have that already in place to give to organizations or for signs. A big part of what we're doing is working on marketing the village. And I think using some of the marketing that we have in place, like the Parks and Rec symbol or emblem, or then that doesn't match the signs that are on the streets that say, you know, the walking in the park and the wayfinding signs. I mean, it's just all jumbled. I'd like to see the park things, you know, not the plaque. I think a plaque, you know, we could maybe give some direction as to size and placement, but as far as any signage in the parks, I think it should follow a template.
Well, I think what's nice is this is the first one. So we kind of can give them, you know, the different parameters, I think. And then once they come with that and we approve it, then we can make that part of the actual policy. You know, this is the size of what it should be when it's on a chain link fence, or this is the size and or literature that needs to be included within the plaque that's used, if that's the way that they decide to go. But I think we can actually just make that part of this policy, you know, bring the policy back once we're able to work through these kinks with this group doing this, and then kind of go from there. As far as the, you know, as far as the signage with the Lions Club or other groups, you know, they'll be coming to the village as well. So we can always, you know, maybe try and, you know, point to this as uniformity if you're looking for that. And I guess it would be us using this uniform for our signage as well then, you know, kind of going forward. So
well, that's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, you know, pointing to this policy and not trying to offer new ones is kind of important, so that we keep everything in line as well. So
yeah, I think maybe we just add a section to this in the policy. So, but I mean, we don't.
It seems that we could still move forward with this tonight, though, because we have this public. I mean, this is something that we can do at the same time. Yeah,
I agree. I think tonight really is just, you know, to start that formal approval or that formal public hearing per se, or public comment time for people to give us feedback, whether they like the idea or don't. And I think tonight with your motion, if you would just put where you want or who you want those that correspondence to go to would be, you know, important. And we'll obviously bring that back to the committee, or bring them all back to the committee come December 21st at our next meeting to discuss it further.
I have two quick questions.
Yep.
The baseball field currently has no name.
Correct.
It's known as the big field.
The large diamond. Yeah.
Large diamond. Okay. Yeah. And then is there anyone, obviously I've only lived here for 2 years, so I don't know, this is why I'm asking the question. Is there anyone that's equally qualified or desirable of that naming right for that field, in anyone's opinion?
Well, if you're asking me, you know, I've been here now for, it'll be 15 years, and the only person that I've worked with throughout all the baseball programs are Stan and Jim Nunn. They go way above and beyond. They don't get paid anything, and they put a lot of effort into these teams and baseball in itself. But since they're the group that's kind of coming forward to offer this to Francis, then I would say obviously they know better than I would, and understand what it took to get them to where they are today. So
Jim, are you still there? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we have, Stan and myself have been involved, like I said, 15, 20 years or so, but we're doing this for Francis because he deserves it. Is there anybody else in the community that would have anything close to Francis? The answer to that is no.
Okay.
I mean, Jack Hogan, he won a home talent championship back in 1977, I think, but he was only a coach at that level for maybe 4 or 5 years. So, you know, the person who deserves it is Francis.
The only reason I ask is I would hate for us to say yes to this and then someone comes back and says, well, you didn't consider this person. So as long as he stands out as the one, then yeah, I have no issue. I'd feel
in terms of years, there's nobody that's close.
Okay, I'm fine with moving forward.
Well, and I think it's a good question to ask right now, but we are going to have the 30 days for public comments. So others will have an opportunity to bring ideas if they wish to the table, but we should definitely try to filter some of that out initially. And it sounds like Francis is a good choice. So
is this something where you use the name of the diamond, you know, like is it short-sighted to not also suggest or ask for suggestions to name the other diamond so that people know which one they're going to? Or are we going to need signs in the, you know, like how are people, is it like when you get your schedule, it's like you either go to Gorst or the little one, or does that matter or not? I don't.
Well, I think, you know, right now it's just been brought to us to discuss for the large diamond naming rights at Bear Park. I think, you know, if a group and or someone wanted to bring the same for the small diamond, that's exactly what the policy is in place for, or future facilities, you know, moving forward. So yeah, the first, you know, year or who knows how long, you know, could be you go to Gorst Field or you go to the small diamond, but then, you know, as people bring things to you for approval, it would change to whatever.
But that would be okay for the organizations that use it, that when they're okay with it.
Yeah, because I think what you'll hear is everyone will be calling it the large diamond for a few years still, and then see the signage up there and read the plaque and then understand, you know, it's Gorst Field, you know, moving forward. So, yeah.
So we need a motion to move on to the next steps here.
Mike, what should this motion look like? Because you said it should include where the public comment should go.
Yeah, I think even some direction on what you'd like for publications on this. I was thinking I could still get it in the newsletter tonight, put it in there, and so it's there if you'd like that in there for people to give public comment, and then where to send that public comment. Obviously, we use social media and Facebook quite often. We could do something there. We could use our website. I thought about we could probably have Jim contact the newspaper and give a nice presentation to the newspaper if we'd like to get it out there that way. Jim, you're still on, right?
Yep.
I just put your name forward in there. So, but there are some options. So I would say, you know, if at least we come up with a game plan for that, you know, making sure that it's getting out there publication wise, and then where to send those. So I think those are key.
And Mike, are you okay receiving all of that feedback?
Yes. Yeah.
You want to spoon feed us the motion? And we can just regurgitate it, because otherwise we might be sitting here for a little while.
So I think I have the motion. I tried to come prepared. Should I give it a shot?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, let's see. I don't know. So I'd like to make a motion to allow for the next 30 days for public comment regarding the naming of Bear Park's big baseball diamond to Gorst Field, and direct all feedback and correspondence during that time to Mike Axon.
I think that sounded perfect.
Okay, second. Okay, first and a second. All in favor, say
aye. We have a who seconded that?
I did, Melissa.
Oh, okay, Melissa did. Okay.
Mike, do you need specifics in that about where it will be, the information will be shared?
No, I just, from your standpoint, if you're okay with the ones that I discussed, if you have other ones, feel free to send them to me. I think the more the merrier in regards to any of this type of publication. So.
Yep.
Okay, Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Am I done now?
You are. I'll be in contact with you, Jim. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mike. Thank you all.
Okay,
And
so
just a real quick before you adjourn here, moving forward, if there are some agenda items or things that you'd like to see moving forward on our agendas, feel free to email them to me. I always try and do a draft agenda and send it to Sarah for approval and then out to all of you. So if you get some things that you'd like to see on there or we can discuss to make some motions on, feel free to get them to me and I'll get it on there.
can you also send me some, or maybe some sort of tickler so I know it's in my other email?
You don't check that? Yeah, I can, would you like me to, I can probably text you or send you something.
That'd be perfect. Just so I don't get it at the, or, I know you try for the Friday before or what,
Yeah. I try and send it to you by at least Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest and then for approval. So.
Not necessary, but just a request if possible.
I will do so.
Okay. All right, everybody. Our next meeting then is scheduled for Monday, December 21st. And guess we'll see you all then. Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Okay, a second.
I'll second it. Sarah.
Okay, motion adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
See you later.